At the Senate impeachment trial, House managers are telling senators they can't trust President Trump. Later today, Democrats will wrap up their arguments for removing the president from office. They focused yesterday on Article 1, abuse of power, claiming Mr. Trump repeatedly put his self-interests above national security. The president called the case unfair and corrupt, and his lawyers say the Democrats' evidence will work in his favor to vindicate the president. Nancy Cordes is on Capitol Hill. She has more on the strong message about supporting the president. Nancy, what's that about?
Well, Anthony, a Trump confidant tells CBS News that Republican senators have been warned, vote against the president and your head will be on a pike. So far, the Republican senators who are talking seem to be firmly in his corner, even as they listened to a barrage of evidence yesterday having to do with Article 1, abuse of power. Today, the focus turns to Article 2, obstruction of Congress, before we move to the defense.
This is corruption and abuse of power in its purest form.
The House impeachment managers laid out Thursday how they say the president used his position to benefit himself.
The quid pro quo was discussed in text messages, emails, voicemails, calls, and meetings amongst top administration officials and top Ukrainian officials.
The only person who stood to benefit from the abuse of office and solicitation of these investigations was Donald Trump.
After more than 16 hours, some of their arguments have grown familiar.
President's own words to President Zelensky on the July 25th call.
You look at that July 25th call?
So when President Trump asked for a favor on a July 25th call.
And while some Republicans, like Senators Collins and Murkowski, have appeared to pay close attention, others flicked fidget spinners.
It is the same thing day after day after day.
Rinse it, recycle it, and repeat it.
Senate Democrats cried foul.
Well, you're the ones who voted against new evidence, new testimony, new documents. So they are being duplicitous and hypocritical.
They pointed to a new poll that shows 7 in 10 Americans want to hear from witnesses.
He covered it up. He obstructed us. He's trying to obstruct you. And he's violated the Constitution.
Democrats also tried to head off any attacks on the Bidens.
The allegations against Vice President Biden are groundless.
But the president's defense team said the impeachment managers had brought them up first and they're fair game.
They kind of opened the door for that response, so we'll determine as a defense team the appropriate way to do it.
The question now, are any of the 100 jurors still undecided?
I want to end this thing sooner rather than later.
What should the American people make of the fact that so many senators appear to have already made up their minds long before this trial is even over?
There are some, but the weight of history, the weight of that trial, the requirement that people are forced to sit at their desks and listen is very, very powerful.
President Trump's attorneys are due to begin their 24 hours of opening arguments on Saturday, but there are some Republican concerns that those arguments will get buried if they take place on the weekend. So there's now talk, Anthony, of a shortened Saturday session. They can make a few arguments, but then begin the bulk of their case on Monday.
All right, Nancy Cordes at the Capitol. Thanks, Nancy.